Honorable Ramphal.
B377.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I shall reply to parliamentary questions B377 and B392 together as they relate to the same subject matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, the House will note that since long, replies to parliamentary questions and private notice questions on our national airline have systematically and pertinently emphasized that Air Mauritius, being a company listed on the Stock Exchange of Mauritius and being governed by the provisions of the Companies Act, the Securities Act, and its memorandum and articles of association, it would certainly not be in order to disclose information of a commercially sensitive nature, as such disclosure seriously risks causing prejudice to the company. Only information which relates to any specific matter under the purview of government may be provided. The information being sought by the two honourable members regarding the watershed meeting and sale of aircrafts and other assets of the company respectively are matters that concern solely and are under the sole purview of the administrators, in whose mission as administrators there can be no government intervention. Mr. Speaker, sir, thus, on a specific matter under the purview of government, I indicated in my statement to the House on Tuesday, 4th of May 2021, that in view of the deteriorating financial situation of Air Mauritius, the company was put in voluntary administration on 22nd of April 2020 by virtue of a resolution of the Board of Directors. But despite this, it is still listed on the Stock Exchange of Mauritius. However, dealings in its securities have been suspended with effect from 22nd of April 2020. It is also pertinent that Listing Rule 11.3 of the Stock Exchange provides that a listed company should keep the Stock Exchange of Mauritius informed of any information relating to the company, including information on any major new developments in the company's sphere of activity which is not public knowledge and which, inter alia, might reasonably be expected to materially affect its market activity and the price of its securities. Listing Rule 11.4 further provides that the information required to be disseminated under Rule 11.3, which I have just mentioned, must not be given to a third party before it is notified to the Stock Exchange of Mauritius. This is further reinforced by Section 87 of the Securities Act, inasmuch as Section 87(1) of the Securities Act provides for a transparent manner for reporting by listed companies such as Air Mauritius. Section 87(1) thus provides for the issue of a press release where a material change occurs in the affairs of a reporting issuer that is likely to have a significant influence on the value or market price of its securities, unless such disclosure would amount to a criminal offense. Mr. Speaker, sir, following their appointment, the administrators have, pursuant to the provisions of the Insolvency Act, taken control of the company's affairs, and they also act as agents of the company at all times. The role and powers of an administrator are laid down in Subpart 4 of the Insolvency Act. There is no provision in the Act for government to give any directives to the administrators. Consequently, and for the reasons I have already given, the information sought by the two honourable members cannot be provided.
Yes, the Honourable Prime Minister doesn't want to answer the questions on assets for reasons that he's given. But then, as the majority shareholder in Air Mauritius, the watershed meeting, Mr. the Speaker, sir, was due last year. It has now been postponed to June this year. It's been nearly 1 year now. Now, as majority shareholder in Air Mauritius, can we have the assurance from government that this time the watershed meeting is not going to be postponed, and once for all, a decision is taken with regards to the future of Air Mauritius?
Well, I have replied extensively, and I have quoted the law to say that government has no power to intervene in the administration, into the affairs of the administrators. So how can I now go and direct? The honourable member is asking me to go and direct the administrators what to do.
Speaker, I'd like to ask Honourable Prime Minister, the last budget, government budget, had included billions, if I'm not wrong, 9 billion rupees or more of government money to be invested into Air Mauritius to help it become more solvent. Can you tell the House how much of that money has actually been paid to Air Mauritius?
Well, I have to find out. This is a question that has to be addressed to the Minister of Finance. The amount of money has been budgeted and voted, and how much money has been spent. It's come with a specific question, and I will answer.
Minister, the Honourable Prime Minister just said that as a majority shareholder, he doesn't have any power to dictate to the administrator. But isn't he aware, under the Insolvency Act, the majority shareholder can apply to court to have the administrator removed or directed to do things if the shareholder is not satisfied with the conduct of the administration? And if it is, now that he knows he has this power, will he care to look into the matter and take any actions that he may inflict against the administrator?
So you are presuming that government is not satisfied with the administrator? The board of Air Mauritius has appointed them as administrators, and I don't see any reason why we should go now to court and apply for an order to remove them as administrators. What do we want to do? I mean, Air Mauritius is already down on its knees. Well, we want to bury it out right now itself? This is what the honourable member is saying.
Yes. Well, the Honourable Prime Minister doesn't want to disclose the fees that is being charged by the administrators. But can I invite the Honourable Prime Minister to consider Section 217 of the Insolvency Act, whereby the administrator can charge a reasonable fee, and that the government as majority shareholder can even go to court and ask that a reasonable fee be imposed?
When the fee is going to be asked, the reasonable fee, we'll have to see whether it is reasonable or not.
Honourable Buddha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, what is going to be the role of the new Air Mauritius in the new tourism industry once we reopen the frontiers?
Well, which new Air Mauritius are we talking? Well, I have answered, Mr. Speaker, sir, to say that according to this principle and the practice, each minister, prior to me answering this question, has been answering in the same manner. The Honourable Buddha was part of our government when we have answered questions on Air Mauritius in the same way. He has been part of other governments also. Together, of course, we've been, and where the same answers are. And maybe I should quote at least one answer that Honorable Ganu, then at that time, was in the opposition, had asked about hedging exercise, financial situation of Air Mauritius. And the then Prime Minister, on the 14th of December 2010, this is what he said. he referred the honorable member to previous PQs. I don't want to mention them, but the relevant part, I reiterate that Air Mauritius Limited is a public company listed on the stock exchange, and it is governed by the Constitution and Articles of Association, as well as the listing rules of the stock exchange. The nature of the information being asked is considered as privileged information. Such information, as requested by the honorable member, can only be released to the board of the company. We are talking about hedging losses at that time. I don't want to make further comments on that, but this is the stand, and it has cited ce principe. The stand has been systematically taken by different ministers, including the Honorable Xavier Luc Duval also, including you. You replied, but okay. Let me refresh your memory then to a PQ number B659 that was asked by Honorable Jagru then with regard to Air Mauritius. Honorable Xavier Luc Duval, then Deputy Prime Minister, he stated, Madam Speaker, as already indicated in replies to previous parliamentary questions, Air Mauritius Limited is a company listed on the stock exchange of Mauritius and is governed by the Memorandum and Articles of Association and the Companies Act. It would therefore not be appropriate to provide information asked for by the honorable member.